design industry. Stella calls herself a metaverse designer as it combines the visual creative, digital fashion, 3D modeling, avatar, and digital textile creation, substance designer, part of her doing with the system designing capabilities. She is currently learning DAO building and token engineering. She is the founder of Alana, the Web3 Girl, a community-led virtual avatar project that educates, empowers, and equips people to join and build in Web3 in a safe and communal manner. She is also known as Level at Altera Gilabel. Sorry, I'm so sorry, to mispronounce all those terms. A strategic advisor to select Web3 based projects and is a local host of the token engineering. Thank you so much, Stella, for being with us. I want just to ask people, our attendees, we have more than 50 people now in the chat and more than 70 people, attending. Please go to the press room, and the press room you have the screen, the big screen with the questionnaire. I can show you this because we need you, to you can access, by the way, directly. You see here, you just click press room and you are in front of this questionnaire. Just disable and just please fill the questionnaire. I already did it. This is why I cannot show you how, of course, how to do it. But please, you see that you have this questionnaire. You can, you have a question. Just please fill it. It's very important for the Metaverse Fashion Council, to have those results. Stella, the stage is yours. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Good morning. Thank you, Belinda. For me, it's literally morning over here. Thanks for having me. Lauren was actually the one who invited me. Carla, she's going to speak later today. I'm very excited for that as well. I would like to talk to you about DAOs. Well, this is kind of the topic currently, so I thought I'd share my few cents on it. Let me try to do the screen sharing thing. Should be working fine. Do you guys see the presentation?
Yeah, we can see it, Stella. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. So okay, let's go. Let's roll. Okay, so I'm gonna talk in a few basic steps about DAOs, right? I'm also gonna tell you why I want to talk about DAOs and why I think it's so important to keep talking about it. So my presentation is called A DAO Road in Web3, and we're first gonna, just clear up some facts. So we're going through a brief DAO history, because it is in fact very brief. The basic DAO ingredients, as of my understanding, the DAO ecosystem, and 6 questions towards DAO existence. This is kind of like the rough agenda, even though it's only gonna be 10 minutes, but who cares? Agendas are great. Okay, so screaming pink. Usually my hair is also screaming pink, not right now. Looks more like really bleached out. Okay, as Belinda introduced myself, thank you for that, and sorry for making it so hard for you. I call myself a metaverse designer, and I do that because I've certainly evolved thanks to the space and the people that I met and all the new knowledge that has been pouring into my brain, right? So I come from visual design, I come from fashion. You see some stuff that I've been doing in the past, a small excerpt. But I'm also, and I've always been very interested in the technical parts of how things are working. And in Web3, you have this amazing opportunity to explore both areas, to be a polymath, because here you can be. In Web 2, it is very hard as a polymath, because people are like, oh, great, you can do this and you can do that, but now we cannot put you in a drawer, and this is kind of a problem, right? So for me, encountering or discovering Web 3 was kind of a lifesaver, I think, in that turn. And yeah, generally speaking, my attitude is I'm always doing that which I cannot do in order that I may learn how to do it. And I hope everyone in here feels kind of the same. Okay, so about the DAO history, right? It's super brief. Just for clarification's sake, I want to quote Omid Malikan, who said, "A DAO is a programmed entity that exists in the jurisdiction of a blockchain, issues tokens to stakeholders, and fulfills functions governed by smart contracts." This is like the most technical, but kind of most accurate definition that I think exists as of today, still actually. I think that is truly what a DAO is, right? It means getting rid of human errors mostly. So all of us who thought, right, let's just launch a DAO, well, it's not quite that easy, in my opinion. Okay, so to show you like why it's not that easy, I want to bring up, as of good DAO history, the DAO. You know, there was a thing that was called the DAO, and it existed only for 2 months. It was a VC fund running as a DApp, as a decentralized application, and it was founded in April 2016. And everyone could join who was sending ETH to the DAO smart contract, and they would be voting on funding new ventures on chain, right? And all of this was obviously happening on Ethereum chain. And so within just a few weeks, honestly, they managed to raise over $150 million, which was crazy. And the interest into the Ethereum chain at the moment, which was still so young, it grew by 50%. And so obviously did grow, like it at the same time, it grew the price of Ether, right, in relation to the US dollar. And so what happened just 2 months into this little venture is the smart contract of the DAO got exploited, and funds kept disappearing suddenly from the DAO's treasury. So someone found a vulnerability in the smart contract of the DAO, and it went really bad really fast. And Ethereum lost 1/3 of its US dollar value at the time. Well, as a reaction to this, the Ethereum community came together, and this is what we know as the hard fork event. This is when Ethereum chain was split into 2 different chains. And this is what we recently celebrated when they were merged together again, right? So it's kind of like history has kind of looped itself. But it also shows that, you know, of course, the Ethereum community was faced with, well, kind of the impossible choice, right? Just do nothing and have the, you know, all the funds disappear and risk that a very bad actor takes a lot of influence on the chain, or in fact hard forking the blockchain. Both choices are not ideal, right? If we think about the concept of DAOs. So the earliest example was, well, an example gone wrong. And why did it go wrong? Well, it did in fact go wrong because of the vulnerability in the smart contract. But then again, how does that happen? It happens if we're being careless and if we don't think stuff through, right? This is when this happens. So, to just name a few like still existing examples and that have been actually in the space for either some time or have made like quite the name for themselves. Since 2017, MakerDAO exists. It's a lender and stablecoin creator. Since 2018, some of you might have used the exchange Uniswap. It's an automated market maker. And since 2021, the Constitution DAO exists, which became very famous for purchasing the original copy of the US Constitution. And it's like, it kind of means that with the idea of a DAO, nothing really seems impossible, right? And so what are like some key ingredients that you need for a DAO? The way it's structured is usually loose, right? It's decentralized and it's autonomous. It's a grassroots organization, really. The idea is to have somewhat of a flat hierarchy. It's supposed to be absolutely transparent because it's mostly run through smart contracts. You can also manage a DAO in a more human way, but preferably you would get rid of everything that, causes slow interaction, right? So automating processes is super important. It is open, so people are free to enter, ideally, right? It's fully global, and it's being managed by its members. Those are as to my understanding, there are more ingredients to this, obviously. The more detail you bring into this, it's its own rabbit hole, truly. But I think those are the 6 key elements, I would say. And something else that is super important is the fact that, I said flat hierarchy. I didn't say it's leaderless, right? So whilst, a DAO is decentralized, it doesn't mean it's necessarily leaderless. And Nishinan Kezonpat, she has defined this really well. And she says, rather more people are empowered to take initiatives towards shared goals, the DAO's North Star, so to speak. The only problem with this is you might want this, right? Like even like the people who are like founding a DAO with you want this, but then how do you get people to think differently? It's its own complete crazy challenge. Yeah, okay. So I actually think we tend to think of DAOs before we actually have thought through the ecosystem in which a DAO is supposed to exist, right? A DAO is actually the governing body, as of my understanding, of a tokenized ecosystem. So instead of founding a company, if you're actually running something in Web3, you actually have to consider if you're building out a whole ecosystem. And then an ecosystem is so much more complex than actually a company structure. And this is why you need a DAO that is like the governing body of that. Because otherwise it will cause too much administrative tasks, honestly, and everything will become extremely slow because it's not a company any longer, it's an ecosystem that adds an incredible amount of complexity. And this is also why we call tokenized systems complex systems, because indeed thinking of a microeconomic structure is very complex. So coming again from both sides, right, the design perspective and now as of latest the engineering perspective, I think if you want to have a DAO that is your governing body of the ecosystem you have thought of, then you should ask yourself, or you should probably start by asking yourself 6 fundamental questions. What is the goal of the so the first group of questions is all about the tokenized ecosystem. Before you have not answered those, I think you don't actually need to think about a DAO, right? So what is the goal of the tokenized ecosystem? Who will be, or the objective function as it's called in engineering, who will become a stakeholder or a user or both in the tokenized ecosystem, and what building blocks can be used to create a sustainable incentive structure, right? Because you need to incentivize this structure. If you don't, no one is going to use it, right? So how do you accurately and carefully incentivize people? And the second group of questions is all about the DAO, right? What type of DAO will it be, and how is the structure of the DAO? There's so many ways to explore. We have already seen so many like different models of DAO structures, right? A collector's DAO has an entirely different structure than, an eco DAO, or there's just like really everything, right? And yeah. What part of the tokenized ecosystem will the DAO govern, and why? So just because you have a DAO does not necessarily mean the DAO needs to govern the whole ecosystem. Maybe it is responsible for specific parts of the ecosystem. And then lastly, what will the core consensus agreement of the DAO look like, right? You have to make rules, because if you don't make rules, then, you know, everything will go bonkers some way or another, I guess. So that said, and actually this is the last slide, so I will stop boring you. But that said, I think from all the experience that I've been gathering in, you know, being part of different projects in a Web3 space and also a founder, I think those are the real questions, right? It's not about how to incorporate, how to make this, right? They are also very important, of course, but they definitely don't come first. The more clarity you have of what you want to design, the easier it will get. I think everything else turns out to be settling the horse from the wrong side. But again, this is my personal experience and my personal opinion. So yeah, hit me up if you have any questions. And that was a road to DAO, or maybe to DAO.
Thank you so much, Stella, for this presentation. You have not bored us. I assure it was fresh, very pinky, very energetic. I appreciated every moment. Thank you for this enjoyable moment. Kazbek, you wanted to?
Yeah. I don't have a question, but I have a proposal. And so, Stella, thanks a lot. It was so meaningful. Yeah. So, I'm asking you, please don't miss our roundtable. Yeah, because your voice is so important.
I
So,
will be
and
there.
yeah, please do.
Yeah,
and
please.
for your presentation, because can we publish it? Because it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I'm rather not tech guy, but I'm nerdy. Yeah, so I'm the most boring person in all this Metaverse Fashion Council. I know that, and I love the stories about DAOs and like financial stuff, tech stuff, and so on. But you somehow you managed to explain so complicated and difficult and boring questions with this like brilliant style. Thanks a lot.
Exactly.
So if you give us permission to publish it, that would be beneficial for all people, not just for our community.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you so much.
Kind of
It was brilliant, really brilliant. If I cannot, maybe I cannot attend the roundtable, I want to just to make, if you allow me, Kasbek, saying that what Stella described it about what is happening, all those difficulty, we call this learning phase. Means in this DAO, we are still in learning phase. Don't be scared about it. I'm 55. I had, you know, we started with internet and we saw all those problems about internet, and time to time, you know, you will gain experience, you will gain, you know, visibility, and you will make it happen. Means really, this is what we call, what we will define the learning phase. DAO is in the learning phase. Thank you so much. Let's now jump to our next speaker. Let's welcome Pradip Khanna, Executive Chairman of Global Mindset. Pradip, you are with here?
Not yet.
Not yet. We don't have yet Pradip? Okay. Then, and Miki? Do we have Miki? Because the next one on my agenda is Miki.
No.
Not Miki and not Pradip. Then what I propose...
Let's make a round table.
Exactly. And